You can now see that you get all of this information and you've got it all here linked with formulas. So one of the things for those of you intending to spend a lot of time producing these sorts of analysis, you'll need to have formulas that build everything up. You'll spend a lot of time working with Excel and generating these things. This helps you get familiar with it. So this is one way. The other way is to use, inside the Blumberg tab, we have something called data navigation. I'm not sure that it's going to work because we have an error.
No, it's going to work.
Yeah. Oh. The only problem is I have a feeling that
it's very strange.
Yes.
Because actually Alright. No.
Let's not worry about it. I'll show you something else that's just as easy. About 5. Alright. I minimize you. Okay. So I did promise I wasn't going to show you how to make an Excel sheet. I'm going to kind of go back on my promise and show you some really quick way of making an Excel spreadsheet, because most people want to know quick ways of doing this. So, I'm going to give you an example. I'm interested in finding out about the key income statement items for Magnique for the past 5 years. How do I do it? Well, the data navigation is one good way when it works. The other way is there. We type in the name of the company that we want to find, okay? Magnique. And then we can actually build formulas very easily to get all of this information in. So let's say, for example, that I want to get the sales, EBITDA, net income, and EPS of the company. Okay? I want to download those 4 things. They are the 4 things that are going to help me build my horrendously simple free cash flow model. Anyway, I can then say, tell me all of the fields that are related to this. So I'll look for the fields inside Bloomberg. We have a find fields icon there. If we click on this, we can start to populate these inside the spreadsheet. Okay, so I search first for sales, and I have lots of fields that have the word sales in, because I spend a lot of time doing it. But we can get all of the individual fields. So you just ask it what you want to see. So if I do this for a couple, EBITDA, really need to get rid of some of these custom fields. Here we go, EBITDA, net income, there you are, and let's just say free cash flow in this case. So, free cash flow. Okay? I find the fields that I want to see, and I can apply them onto the spreadsheet, like so. Okay? Now it's going to know what I want to download. The only other thing I need to do is put in one formula, and it will update for everything. So, when I click insert function, something else strange is happening. You've got category here, Bloomberg. And inside here you can build a formula, VDH, Bloomberg data history, that downloads all this historical data for this stock. If I double click on that, it's going to ask me a couple of questions. What's my security? What's my field? What's my start date? And what's my end date? We say, this is my security. These are my fields. And I want to have a start date and an end date. If I choose this inside here, clicking this blue link will let me make it in a slightly easier way, and I can say go back 5 years, okay? 5 fiscal years of data. And if I click in end date, I'm going to say until today. Now there's one thing that I need to make it do, is that right? No, actually, should be fine. I do have other options here that will let me change things like the currency. You'll see is inside here, so if I want to put it in ruble terms, or if I want to put in some other sort of terms, if I want to change the direction, or if I want to change the periodicity, for example, to fiscal yearly data instead of quarterly data, all I need to do is just set those options. Then when I press OK, downloads everything for me. Easy as that. So all of these things, you'll see this is actually a very small formula. I could write that formula. Once you get very familiar, it takes a couple of seconds to be able to get the entire income statement, the entire cash flow statement out. Now, the other benefit is, if I want to change this to be Gazprom, for example, I change the ticker, and it'll update. Okay? Very, very quick. Let's just make this. Okay? So it will be completely dynamic and let you have your model update. Of course, we're not going to go through and do the DCF bit, but that's just a building block from it. Okay? So all of these things are very, very simple inside there. Now, let's spend the next 10 minutes just going through a little bit of having developed the idea of share prices, and you can use some of these models inside there, the DDN function, to see it. I won't show you the DCF function because it's probably not going to come out. But having seen a couple of those ideas for how you might want to build things up, I'll show you a few of the relative valuation tools now. So you can come up with an absolute value of the company based on its future growth, as we've just seen. Relative value terms will allow you to say, well, I know I've got a whole list of companies that do a similar thing, and I think it should be valued similarly to those. How do I get a number? Okay. Well, with that, there's 2 or 3 important steps. Step 1 is deciding which companies you want to compare it to. Step 2 is deciding what value is the most useful value to compare to. Is it EV to sales? Is it EV to EBITDA? Is it price earnings? And then it's just making a grid and comparing it across. Okay? So Bloomberg has tools to let you do that. It's really more of an art than it is a science. There isn't a 100% this is the correct answer to relative valuation, in the same way as there isn't really an art to coming up with a DCF model. Everyone will have their own unique way of making changes, including different rates, so on and so forth. I'll just show you a couple of the ways that you can do it now. So, with Magnique, we're going to keep it moved to this way now. If you look in the bottom left-hand corner, what you've got are a couple of comparative analytics. The first one that's important is RV, comparables analysis. This is going to do both of the steps for you in one go. It's going to find out who are the peers for Magnique, and it will give you a couple of suggestions. And then it's going to say, here are a couple of values, or a couple of types of data you can compare them. So with Magnique, it said, I've got custom, we have Bloomberg peers. I changed mine, and I'll show you how we do that in a second. These are the Bloomberg peers, and Bloomberg works out peers across the whole firm, and then on a global, regional, whatever basis you choose. So I might want to say, show me the Magnique compared to Russia. We know which 2 companies we're going to get. This would be a very basic comparison, but you might think, you know what, it's not so bad to compare it to its 2 major peers. Okay? We might just keep this at global for the time being and leave it as it is. Now, here is a couple of other things we do. Magnique is only really in one business, so that's fine. But if we had a company like I don't know if Gazprom is that diverse, so it's diverse enough. If we were to take Gazprom, relative valuation doesn't really work with Gazprom because its multiples are artificially low. But you'll see here that we break down how much money they make from the different sectors: electric and gas, refining and marketing, power generation, and you can compare it to the companies that do that. Yeah.
Could you please describe in a few words what is the algorithm for finding relatives for the company, and could we automate it by? Could I take relatives of the company for some particular period of time in the past using API?
So to answer the last bit, it's a bit easier. The because the peers don't change, or because we don't store a history of the peers, you wouldn't be able to get them over time in the API. But the first part is probably a slightly more satisfying answer. We look at various things like analyst coverage. If an analyst covers a group of stocks, it's likely that they're related because they've got similar factors driving them. If they're in the same industry, they're also most likely to be related because they're classified in the same way. And also a number of other things like market cap, geographical exposure, segment exposure, as you can see here. The last thing that we have is a little bit of discretion. So we have a product called Bloomberg Industries. Bloomberg has its own sector analysts, and we take into account whether or not a company should be in there and make that human choice. Okay? So there's an amount of automation not.
So as far as I understand, I just missed the point. We cannot download through API.
You can get them as they are today, but you can't get this.
But I can get them as they are today using API or using alright.
So there's a function that I won't show in too much detail called FLDS.
Yeah.
This is like the most